chronic procrastinator. I'm also a business advisor and creative strategist. So when I've got a challenge to work on, I procrastinate. Yet this modern world prizes productivity. I'm always under pressure to be head down, bum up, working hard, making every minute of my life efficient. Who isn't these days? So that means I have spent most of my life suffering procrastinators' guilt. Until one day I realized that procrastination is actually essential to my creativity. So now I consider it to be one of my greatest professional assets. So procrastination is simply the act of delaying or putting off doing something. Yet we're taught that it's lazy. It's the enemy of success and achievement. You know what? They've got it all wrong. More and more, the challenges in our lives, businesses, and society demand an innovative approach. This blind focus on productivity is the enemy of innovation and creativity. If we want to be more innovative, we need to spend more time indulging in productive procrastination. Productive procrastination is about using it wisely as a tool. It can actually get us better results if we've got a problem to solve or a creative task to do. Now, the value of procrastination isn't a new concept. It's only quite recently it's come to have such sinful connotations. The ancient Egyptians knew better though, because they had two words for procrastination. The first word meant destructive laziness. And that's the definition most of us tend to associate with procrastination. The second word meant wisely waiting for the right time. I like the second one. Now here's why procrastination is so valuable. Neuroscience has shown that there is so much more going on in our brains when we procrastinate than simply putting off doing something and feeling bad about it. So I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm an expert procrastinator. So I'll describe the science the way I experience it. So when we put off doing something, we feel guilty about it, don't we? That guilt is essential because it makes sure that that task stays on our minds, which activates the supersonic jigsaw puzzle. This puzzle process goes on in our brains at supersonic speed, almost at a subconscious level. Everything we see, hear, read, and experience becomes a potential piece of that jigsaw. In the back of our minds, we're rapidly examining every little piece, turning them around, trying to find some common shapes or themes that might fit our puzzle. Some pieces might be thrown away as irrelevant. Others might be set aside in case they fit a part of the puzzle somehow. Until at last we find a crucial piece. And once that piece slots into our puzzle, all of a sudden we start to see the entire picture in the form of a new idea or a strategy, or maybe just the perfect turn of phrase. And from there, all the pieces of our supersonic jigsaw puzzle start to come together. Have you ever put off doing something until the very last minute? Me too. And then been amazed at how it turns out so much better than you thought it would? That's because the supersonic jigsaw puzzle's been working for you behind the scenes. Procrastination gives our brains time to play, to examine those random bits of information, see what value can be extracted, and to spark ideas. The ideas that percolate with procrastination are likely to be far more creative and get us better results than if we simply churn out a task in as little time as possible. I've recently come to realise that there are two types of procrastinators. There's the accidental procrastinators and there's the deliberate procrastinators. Accidental procrastinators can still come up with incredibly creative solutions or masterful works of art. Take Leonardo da Vinci for an example. He was a creative genius and a legendary accidental procrastinator. He drove his patrons nuts. They would commission an artwork from him and expect it in maybe 6 to 7 months and be lucky to get it 25 years later. So when he started painting the Mona Lisa, he dabbed around the paint for a little while, and then Da Vinci just set it aside to procrastinate for many, many years before he ever returned to complete it. In the meantime, though, he explored other things like playing with light, studying anatomy and physics. All this information helped him build his ideas for the Mona Lisa. So that makes me wonder, would it have been a masterpiece if he'd simply knocked it out in a few short months? Now let's look at Thomas Edison. He was an American businessman. He was also a prolific inventor who held over 1,000 patents. And most importantly, he was a deliberate procrastinator. So when Edison was looking for new ideas or he had a problem to solve, he'd settle into his chair for a cat nap with a twist. He'd nap holding metal ball bearings in each hand. And as he drifted off into a doze, his mind would swirl around his challenges and the supersonic jigsaw puzzle would kick into high gear. If he started to glide into a deeper sleep, his hands would drop the ball bearings into a metal tray below and the noise would wake him up. As soon as he woke, he'd write down everything that was on his mind to capture his ideas. Edison wasn't the only deliberate procrastinator to do this. Salvador Dali, Aristotle, and many other creative geniuses understood the value of snoozing on the job. I'm not so sure so many employers are sympathetic, though. Now, so far, I've used some examples from long ago, and that begs the question, does the value of procrastination still hold true today in our productivity-obsessed modern world? It does. So much so that some corporations actively create environments to encourage it. Innovative companies like Flickr and Livefire foster play at work through encouraging games and having ping pong tables at the office. Now, on the surface of it, it might just look like a way to create fun, funky workplaces to attract talent. Yet play fuels productive procrastination. Pixar's created my all-time favourite strategy to promote a little procrastination and boost creativity at work. It's all about the toilets. They're deliberately located away from work areas to encourage longer, not shorter toilet breaks. So as people make that long journey to the loo, they enjoy some time out away from their tasks. They bump into other people from across the company who provide new pieces for their jigsaws through conversation. And then they end their journey with some solitary time to think on the throne. That small amount of peaceful aloneness gives their brains time to pull together all the pieces of their supersonic jigsaw puzzle. Now, it can seem counterintuitive to encourage procrastination at work. Surely, if people spend more time procrastinating, then productivity will go down, and so will profits. Yet research is showing us the opposite is true. Adam Grant, who's an organisational psychologist at Wharton, worked with his colleagues to study pizza chains. They found the most profitable stores were led by procrastinators. Exactly. Now, another study in India that looked at over 200 companies found similar results. Yet, how could procrastinators possibly achieve better business results than the more efficient, non-time wasting executives? It's simple. Their productive procrastination enabled them to be more flexible, innovative, and agile than staying fixed on a more conservative, linear path. So how can the rest of us feel a little less sinful when we procrastinate and provoke a little more creativity in our lives? Well, neuroscience is giving us a couple of clues about what we can do to activate that supersonic jigsaw puzzle. The first thing we need to do is put off procrastinating for a little while. So we need to procrastinate the procrastination just long enough to make a small start on the task. That might be as simple as getting clear about what we need to do, or just jotting down our first few ideas. This gets our brain engaged with the challenge, so the supersonic jigsaw puzzle can come out to play. We don't want to do too much on it before we stop to procrastinate, though. Otherwise, we risk becoming too committed to our first ideas. That then can close our mind to more innovative solutions, and that could be tragic. What if we missed a far more creative solution that had the potential to completely change our world? The second thing we need to do is distract ourselves. Neuroscientists have shown that we need to procrastinate with things that are just a little distracting, not too distracting. If we procrastinate with something that engages our full attention, then the puzzle session stalls. So we need to procrastinate with things that leaves a little bit of space free in our brains to play with the supersonic jigsaw puzzle. Things like watching TED Talks, cleaning, or even playing solitaire on the computer, a personal favourite, are fantastic strategies for procrastination. The third thing we need, and possibly the most critical thing, are firm deadlines. And we all know from bitter experience, don't we, that if we procrastinate without limits, we never achieve anything. So we need those firm deadlines to get our supersonic jigsaw puzzles focused on pulling the pieces together. So if you are someone that has struggled with procrastination, here's the good news. You can stop repressing it now. Instead, be more deliberate and indulge in some productive procrastination. There are so many challenges in our world, some of which we humans have struggled with throughout the ages. They are not going to be solved using conventional strategies. We need to unleash our creativity and find new effective ways to break through those barriers if we want to change our world for the better. To innovate for the future, we all need to learn how to procrastinate our way to creative genius.